Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. Wow. Bitcoin is now sitting above 27, looking to breach 28, but can it breach $1 million in just 90 days? Is this possible? Well, according to one man, it is. And he's putting big money to bet against people who does not think this is going to happen. So let's talk about Bitcoin, what may drive it up even more to $1 million. And let's talk about what else is going on in the world of crypto. So good morning, guys. Welcome. Look at right now, Bitcoin is at 27.2. In fact, yesterday, we were getting very close to 28,000. But right now, as it stands, 27.12, right? Definitely much higher than 26 and 25 and 24. So Bitcoin has been doing very well. The entire crypto space, in fact, has been doing very well. We are now at 1.17 trillion. And for the week, Bitcoin is up about 34%. Pretty good. And what drove Bitcoin higher? Well, you guys know I've been talking about it, right? All this fear about banks. Banks. Are we going to have another 2008 moment? Well, it's certainly looking like we are heading in that direction again due to greed and leverage of the banks. First of all, look at this headline right here. Credit Suisse, right? Credit Suisse from Switzerland. They were bailed out by Switzerland's national bank. They received a $54 billion injection, yet it's not enough. Their stock was selling off on Friday. Now, the regulators are trying to get someone else to buy them, like UBS. It's gotten that bad where they are forcing Credit Suisse to sell to another bank, even after getting a $54 billion injection. You know, $54 billion sounds a lot, but, you know, when there's a bank run and your stock is getting sold off like crazy, it's just not enough. Okay, so that's the latest. But, you know, in the U.S., what's happening with SV Bank is happening now with 186 banks. So there are a lot of people that are looking at the books, looking at the assets, the deposits from banks nationwide. And 186 has similar risks as SV Bank. Imagine that. Imagine if we have 186 banks, and who knows how large these banks are. Basically, the risk comes from the fact that these banks, they don't have a reserve requirement. That was removed back in March of 2020. They don't have a reserve requirement. Most of their deposits are not FDIC insured, which means that if there's a bank run or if the bank collapses, there's just not enough money to go back to the people. And a lot of these banks bought bonds that are worthless now because they bought it at a time when bonds were giving out very low interest. And they bought like a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year bond, and it's only been 2 years. So it's far from maturity. So all of these things compounded, you have a major banking crisis once again. So is the Fed and U.S. Treasury and the FDIC, are they going to have to plug a lot more holes like they did with SV Bank and others? Well, it's looking like it. So as the weeks go on, I think we're going to hear more about banks and failures and weakness and bailouts, right? So I do think there's a lot at stake. I also think that this is going to help the next FOMC meeting, which is coming up next week. So right now, if you look at the percentages, I mean, the prediction of how high the rate hike will be, it's been fluctuating, but I'm standing by what I said. I think it's going to be 0 because this is crisis mode right now. There's way too much banks that is set to fail if the rates keep increasing. You might be wondering why this is affecting banks at all if the rates increase. Twofold. Number one is business slows down. No one wants to take a loan when it's too expensive, right? So the banks no longer can borrow from the Fed because the Fed fund rate is no longer at 0. It's at 4.5% and could be higher. Businesses do not want to borrow with the banks because now interest, again, is not at 0 and it's much higher. Right now, it's like 6, 7, 8%. Mortgages also the same way. Who wants to get a mortgage when it's 8%? Who wants to take out an equity loan when it's at 8.5%? Right? So the banks are struggling. They're not getting the same kind of businesses or same kind of loans they had before, and they are unable to borrow interest-free from the Fed. That is why so many are now struggling. And they can't sell off their assets because they use most of that money to buy bonds that they can't sell off right now. That's the problem. So I think the Fed, Chair Powell, and the Board of Governors, they will be very dovish. It will be 0%. It will be a shocker if they even went into negative and they pivot and they say we're subtracting off 25 basis points. I don't think that's on the table. It's not even in this prediction chart. But that would be an absolute shocker if, let's say, even though they go 0 and we still hear more about banks failing as we move forward, we will get that pivot much sooner than people expect because that means they've gone too far. Right? So that's something to look forward to. I think that could be very bullish if it's announced to be 0. But right now, many are still predicting there's a 62% chance that it will be 25 basis point hike. I still think it's 0. I think as we get closer, this number will start heading higher and higher and higher. We'll see. But this relates to why one man, the ex-CTO of Coinbase, thinks that Bitcoin can reach $1 million in 90 days. 1 million in 90 days. Do you realize how much money needs to flow into Bitcoin for this to happen? We're talking about trillions, not billions, trillions of hard cash probably coming out of the banking sector and into Bitcoin. Or maybe the Fed mints out another trillion and puts it in Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. The Fed is not going to do that, but they certainly could with their money printer. But that is why one CTO or ex-CTO of Coinbase, who is also a billionaire himself, thinks that Bitcoin has a possibility to reach $1 million in 90 days. 90 days, what does that mean? June timeframe? June, mid-June, July? Is that even possible? Well, according to him, and he wrote this long tweet, okay, really long. Basically, he's concluding what I've been saying, that the banks, they lied. They're all in deep financial trouble, okay, just like SBF. What they did, rather than to buy shitcoins, according to Balaji, I think that's how you say his name, they bought long-dated U.S. Treasuries. I just got done saying that. You know, U.S. Treasury seems like it's a sure bet. Put all your money in there. That's what all the banks did. They put all their money, like SV Bank, they put it all into these long-dated U.S. Treasury, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year bonds. They're paying out like 2 or 3%. And no one wants them because bonds now pay 5%. Right? Who's going to buy a bond that's paying 2% when you could buy it for 5%, right? And the government doesn't want it back either. So they're like, no, we don't want that back. If you exchange it, you're going to lose money. So that's what they all did. And he believes that there will be a huge bank run everywhere. And that's going to cause hyperinflation because the Fed and others have to bail them out, and there's going to be a bank run just like what we have seen before, and money's going to flow into Bitcoin. I was summarizing, paraphrasing, but he actually put a lot more data and stuff like that you could kind of go through. But basically, bottom line is this. He believes that there will be a catastrophic event with the banks and money will be flowing out and it'll be going into Bitcoin, right? And he's putting his mouth, or he's putting his money where his mouth is. That's what I meant. Because someone else, James Medlock, he originally started out, bet anyone $1 million the U.S. does not enter hyperinflation. And Balaji is betting $1 million. And he wants someone else to go in because he put in like $2 million for the bet. So he wants to bet with Medlock and one other person. I don't know who that person is. If you have $1 million and you want to make that bet, go ahead and make it. So if you have $1 million to make that bet, you probably could afford it if you lose it. But that's his reasoning, right? In my opinion, I don't think Bitcoin is going to reach $1 million in 90 days. I think that's too far-fetched. But can Bitcoin reach 1 million someday, maybe 2 cycles or 3 cycles from now? I certainly think so. I certainly think over time, as you zoom out Bitcoin's chart, it will look like this. It's basically going parabolically upwards because I've been saying the fundamentals of Bitcoin has never been stronger. You look at addresses, hash rate, the number of holders, all up at all-time high levels right now. Okay? And then you look at the macro perspective. You look at inflation, the banks, distrust in them, the overprinting, the house of cards, all of those things added together. And you realize that is something that I can't trust. It's going to fail eventually. We're just kind of rolling the dice like, hey, it's going to continue for another 50 years, 100 years. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it all collapses in 20 years. But when it does, it's going to be disastrous. And maybe the money printer won't help in those cases because some of the other countries out there, they have hyperinflation because they also thought they could use their unlimited money printer to save themselves, and they really couldn't. And that's why they have hyperinflation. Countries like Argentina and Turkey and others, their money is basically worthless, right? So when you put that into context, then you realize, well, Bitcoin is definitely the best way to go. It can't be inflated. It's set by code. No one has control over it. No country has control over it. This is the best thing that we have, right? So this is the one asset, the one crypto that I believe will be around 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years from now. Nothing will displace Bitcoin. Even with the new innovations in the space, nothing ever will displace Bitcoin, in my opinion. It's just too perfect, and you can't replicate it anymore. Even if you wanted to come out with another Bitcoin, no one would accept it. No country will allow you to. Just look at Facebook. They tried. They tried to come out with them, and they got shut down immediately. You can't even try to replicate Bitcoin now. That's the thing. There's value in that, and it's the most decentralized, most secure network on the planet right now. That has value in it too. So, will Bitcoin eventually get to $1 million? Yes. In 90 days? Probably not. Probably not, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe we have a financial disaster worse than 2008, and even the Fed can't bail them out, and then we'll see that injection of trillions into Bitcoin. So, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. And, of course, someone else looking forward to this is Michael Saylor. Who has bragged about his choice going into Bitcoin. Since MicroStrategy went into Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been up 125%. This is despite the downs too, up and down. He got into August of 2020, so up and downs, right? But when you compare that decision to, say, investing in S&P 500, NASDAQ, gold, bonds, and silver, it definitely looks like the right decision, right? So despite the fact that Peter Swift said, or Schiff said that, gold is the right way. Gold is still down 5% versus 3 years ago. So, yeah. And as for our current trajectory, our current breakout at 27,000, well, it's still looking pretty good. Stock Money Lizards have made many charts comparing our climb right now from bottom to the same climb in 2019 from bottom, and it's so similar. And if we get that breakout moment, which looks like it has happened, well, that means really good things are about to come. Bitcoin went from 3,000 to 14,000 in short order. Once it broke through that trend line, which was around 6,000, can we break out from our 15,000 to 40 or 50,000 after breaking out of 28, 29,000? It can certainly happen. It's especially if you realize what's going on with the banks right now, right? So it could certainly happen. Here's another pattern just showing, what has happened before versus what is happening right now, right? Looks good. And also the halving event, let's not forget, right? Every single cycle, we have this parabolic rise, then we have this downfall, right? And then we start over again every single time. And we are definitely in that period when things get very, very exciting. So, looking good. And what's also good is this. Microsoft is about to enter the crypto space in a big way. They have built in their own crypto wallet into Edge, although they have not enabled it yet. So they already have it. People are looking through the code and they see. It's kind of like MetaMask or the RX wallet that's already built in to Edge. It's just that they have not enabled it. So that shows you how serious they are now and how serious overall everyone is. Everyone is trying to get into the space. Fidelity just got in a big way, opening up their commission-free crypto exchange, right? A lot of other brokers like Robinhood now coming out their self-custody wallet, right? Allowing the masses to safely secure their crypto. And now you got Microsoft that's in the same space too. This is fantastic. Fantastic. And who knows when Apple is going to do it. If Microsoft is doing it, Apple is probably going to do it for Safari and iOS too. And Google's going to follow. There's a big, I guess, competition right now between all three, right? Between personal assistants like ChatGPT, which Microsoft is definitely winning by leaps and bounds right now, but also with browser, with web dominance, and which one will enter crypto space first and lead the way. I'm thinking it's Microsoft. I'm putting my money on Microsoft, but we'll see. And as for Web 3.0, you have Polygon that's still making a ton of partnerships, now partnered up with Salesforce for NFT-based loyalty. They have done this too with Starbucks. Starbucks has NFT-based loyalty, and same thing with other brands, Coca-Cola and so many others, right? There are so many companies wanting to get into space right now, and they're trying to provide use cases for NFTs, not just selling a picture, but actually using it for some purpose. Loyalty seems to be a pretty easy thing, but who knows where this goes. And as for Polygon, its stats are just climbing sky high. I already talked about their ZK EVM will be coming later this month, just in a couple weeks. That will be absolutely huge for Polygon. The ability to scale the virtual machine and process smart contracts at a rate unable to ever before. No other projects have a way to scale Ethereum virtual machine. Everyone has a way to scale the chain and transactions, but not how fast they could process smart contracts. And as far as I know, this is the only technology that's coming out, I guess now, that actually allows that. So be very, very, very good. And plus, ETH itself, they have announced their Shanghai upgrade April 12th. It's in April. April 12th, right? And a lot of people think that this will be absolutely massive for ETH because now it removes the barrier of unable to to stake and get your ETH back. It removes that barrier, and it's going to cause a monster rally. You could see in quotes, monster ETH rally that's coming. So we will see if that's true. All right, guys. Pretty good overall. Let's do some Q&A. All right, I was in mute. Sorry. L. Lannard is asking about the Helium crash and delisting. Yeah, I think Binance delisted them, probably thinking they're security, and they have been free fall since then. And plus, ever since they announced they're moving to Solana, that just got a lot of people angry. All right, Zach, there's zero chance that Plan B is Satoshi. I don't know why you would think so highly of him, but he was not even around charting his stock to flow model in the early days. He came in, I think, in 2017, but I wasn't even in Bitcoin before he was. So, yeah, so I don't think that's the case. Steve, my man. I didn't respond to you, but I don't know if I was mute, but glad to see you made some money with Bitcoin. I think a lot of people did. Will Apple keep making crypto restrictions? I don't know about that. I know they are taxing because they do not want to lose their stranglehold on apps and app makers. Basically, they want to charge 30% on everything, and I don't quite understand that by charging transaction fees for network transactions, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So they were doing that with Coinbase Wallet in terms of NFTs. That's why NFTs actually got shut down on Coinbase Wallet, because the ETH fees that you're supposed to be paying, how is that going to be paid to Apple? You know, that doesn't make sense. So anyways, if Microsoft continues to innovate, Apple will follow. It's just that simple. Z Protocol and SpaceX connection, there's zero. There's zero. No matter how many people try to make that connection, there's zero. All right. I'm still scrolling. What are your thoughts on this being a bull trap? It's not. It's not. That doesn't mean that we can't come back down. Doesn't mean that the macro conditions can't get worse. But it simply irritates me when people keep asking about that. I mean, if you want to choose to believe that and you want to be left in the sidelines, no one's going to stop you, right? But still, but don't keep trying to spread those fears to others by keep asking if it's a bull trap, if it's bull trap, if it's bull trap. If you're not paying attention to what's going on or what I'm saying, then I don't know how else to change your mind. What happens if Ledger files bankruptcy? Nothing will happen. The whole beauty of self-custody is that you can restore your crypto anywhere. That's why the device itself is not important. It's the recovery phrase. You could take your Ledger's recovery phrase and restore your crypto on Trust Wallet or Coinbase Wallet or SafePal or RX Wallet or MetaMask. You could restore anywhere. So the recovery phrase is the most important thing, not the device itself. Keep that in mind. It would be amazing today if we breach this point right here, 28.8. If we breach through that, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. We've been waiting for that for quite some time. We finally have some momentum building and building and building. And next week, if we get a favorable FOMC meeting, which I think will happen, and we get more bank closures or failures or bailouts, we will definitely break through and head much higher. Christian, I'm probably not gonna get a Ledger Stacks, to be honest. There's no need for it. It looks fancy, it looks great, but it does the same exact thing. So I'm probably not gonna get one unless I'm sent one for review. Then I'll probably review it. But write a book. You know what? I did try once and I gave up. It had nothing to do with crypto. I tried to write a book about and this was a very long time ago. This is even silly to think about. But I tried to write a book about StarCraft 2 because I was so into that game. I was writing a story about this player and his whole life, and it took so long to write like half of it, and then I eventually gave up. I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't think of a good way to finish it. Sharon Stone lost half her wealth from the failed banks. I wonder how many other famous people did. I don't know. I mean, did she really lose it, though? Because all the deposits from SV Bank and Signature and Silvergate, I mean, basically, they all got bailed out. They basically said everyone is going to be made whole and you can withdraw whatever you want. So I don't know if she actually lost, unless it's just due to bad investments. But there's a lot of extremely wealthy people out there. I've always wondered this, like how people have tens of millions or hundreds of millions. You know, where do they park their money when FDIC insurance is only $250,000? It's not like you go create like 100 accounts, right? Or 1,000 accounts I don't know. Do you see big future with any of these pumps? Mass, Immutable X, or Storm X? I mean, Aaron, you tell me. You tell me, rather than just ask me about coins that pumped. Feeling major FOMO right now? Well, I'm glad. Not that you're feeling FOMO, that you're feeling excitement. We haven't had this for a long time. We haven't breached this point. Let's zoom out. We haven't breached this point since June of 2022. It hasn't been a year. Almost. We're coming up to it. But we have not seen this level since June. Right? And once we breach this 28.7, 28.8, then that brings us back all the way to May of 2022. Right? But if you look at year to year, in March, we were still at somewhere around here. 30, 35? Right? Hey, if it takes only a year for us to get back to 35, 40K, I would say, wow. First of all, the year went by really fast. And second of all, we were all given a golden opportunity to buy cheap once again, right? A year seems like a long time, but man, did that fly by really quick. We're already more than halfway through this month. We're entering April. To me, 2023 seems like it just started, but we're already almost 4 months in. And I mean, if we really get to 40,000 or 50,000 within 3 months, basically, you know, getting back to where we were a year ago, I mean, everything below, basically, you think about it, is just a gift to humanity, a gift to allow people to get into Bitcoin once again at a low price before we continue heading higher and breach 70,000 and above. Seems kind of unfair the Fed is bailing out the banks but not fail the crypto projects like Voyager and FTX. Well, yeah, that's the Fed for you. They're going to protect their own. And their own are banks, right? A lot of banks, they're not going to trust. They're not going to bail out crypto. We have to just do better overall. Rocket, I appreciate it. A country with central bank is not a capitalist country. I don't know about that. Every capitalist country has a central bank out there. It adds, I don't know what it adds, but it does. It does. The next crypto gem will be awesome. I'm very excited about it. We'll be flying out to LA to record it in a week. I got my outfits ready. Got my shoes ready. I just have to figure out how to pack everything. But I'm very, very, very looking forward to it. It'll be a new experience. Hopefully I meet new people, new friends. And hopefully when it does debut, I think it's going to come out in June or July. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Crypto's a scam when exchanges fail, but traditional banking system isn't a scam when they fail. So corrupt. That's true, Kate. That is true. What's the pairs for BTC Doge? Are you just buying the relationship deltas? I'm not doing any of that, Rock. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not buying any Doge. So I don't know what you're talking about, but You must be on something that's pretty good. All right, guys. Have a good one. Let's conclude. You know what? If 186 banks are about to fail, well, then we have real problems. We have real problems. Can the Fed bail out so many banks? If not, well, then this is going to happen, and that $1 million will be coming. In 90 days, I don't know. But eventually, yes. Yes, it will. So, smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Enjoy your gains, and let's see what happens later today. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.